and it's an honor to be here and meet all of you. I just want to lift Jesus high today and make him even more famous, amen? So I'm from 3 generations of missionary. My grandparents were missionaries in China for 30 years, orthopedic surgeon, and they were taking prisoners of war. And then my parents went to Wycliffe and joined Wycliffe in the 50s and went to the Philippine jungles where ISIS and terrorism and communism were rampant. That was my growing up years, and my playmates were the children of terrorists. As my dad translated the Bible for 62 years, loving the people that, hated the word, but saw many, many, many converts. And so I watched in action what God has left us to do and to finish here on earth. That's why he delays. He said it's not his will that any should perish. So his coming is delayed because we have an unfinished task. And he said in Matthew 24:14, this gospel must be preached to every tongue and every tribe, and then the coming of the Lord. And he told us, of course, the Great Commission, go and make disciples of all nations. And so I got a call 20 years ago to go to Uganda and run a Bible school campus for Campus Crusade Ministries. And I had prayed, send me anywhere in the world, Lord, where no one wants to go, and I'll lay my life down for you there. Because 9 out of 10 missionaries go to reached areas. 1 out of 10 goes to unreached. So I fulfilled my 1-year assignment in Uganda, and then I heard about the war going on. People were evacuated, nobody wanted to go, missions was not present, and yet it was a 20-year war of child abduction and horror. I said yes to the Lord. I got a call to go up there, I'll go. The U.S. Embassy said it's off limits, and if you go, we're crossing your name off, you're already as good as dead. And no organization would support me to go into a war zone and come home in a body bag and have my blood on their hands. But in the book of Acts, they didn't run away from danger. They knew that their lives were already committed, whether I live or die, to Christ in me. And there was a job to be done. So that had been my prayer. And as I went into the war zones to say, God, if there's 1,000 people a day dying without Jesus, then there's a job unfinished. And so I went north, I fought some fear, and God said, I can't use you in fear, because fear will paralyze you, and fear has torment. And I said, well, what do I need? He said, you don't have enough love. And he baptized me with such love for him, trusting him with my life, as well as the people I was going to serve. As 1 John 4:18 says, perfect love casts out fear. So I went there and 20 years ago started praying and said, God, if we can see you heal the land, as 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, then let us do our part. Humble, pray, seek my face. So we called for a national prayer gathering, and over 1,000 people came together to pray during the war. And on the 5th day of prayer, 8 hours a day in the stadium, the government called me and said, are you the ones praying? I said, yes, why? He said, it feels like a big black curtain has pulled open in the heavenlies, and we can feel the atmosphere's changed. And God said he stops wars in Psalm 46. That's what he did. Revival exploded. I didn't know what to expect. People were coming to the Lord by thousands and thousands. So within the first 5 years there, I was working night and day, never saw another Westerner, but trained 75 full-time indigenous missionaries. And we opened a radio station, an orphanage, a street kids program, a primary school. Over 1,000 churches were planted. We had 500 graduate from Bible school and 7,000 graduate from bush training. And that has never stopped. And so now 20 years later, the growth continues. All the miracles in the book of Acts are happening there. The church met daily, and God added to the number. We're now in 7 nations of Northern Africa where there's terrorism. 1,000 full-time indigenous missionaries, and we have 10 to 11,000 people a month coming to Jesus with discipleship. That's monthly, documented carefully by our field missionaries. And God is on the move in these regions abundantly. The thing that I'm praying for is the property we're trying to get. I'm going back in a few weeks, and that's where I live. But the trafficking of these young girls, they're put in planes, 1,500 at a time, and sent to Saudi Arabia. And they said, oh, we're going over there for jobs. Well, when they get off the plane, they're put in cages, and their organs are used for transplant, surgical transplant. Some are used in sex slave, the others are thrown out. And so we are getting a piece of property for 1,000 girls at a time, and God is turning them into missionaries, from prostitutes to preachers. That's already happening in Uganda. But we need to finish the purchase of this land in South Sudan for 1,000 girls to become missionaries. And how many people will they win? 1,000 at a time coming through. It's a transformational facility. God's Institute for Transformation. We call it the GIFT program. And so for the wall and the septic and the well and the land and the buildings and everything, we have a phase of $350,000, and I'm believing God for that even before I return to Africa. And so if you would, I didn't say this before, but I speak in home groups. If you'd like to host a home fellowship or home group, or just be a part of the vision, please let me know. The books are free. And when you sign up to get our prayer updates, take one of the books. I teach on spiritual warfare also, and it is on our website because people ask about prayer. God is on the move over there, and Africa is praying for revival in America. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Carol.